Zahadu, you will die.
Seen one Sheridan, seen them all. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
You cannot attack Sahadu. No one has ever succeeded.
Hello, this is Londo Molai, and you're watching Madman Cafe. However, in the old days, the great days of the Republic, you would be spying all the Brevare, Hajjala, and Spoo.
Live from high atop his mountain fortress, it's the show that's 100 organic, 40 caffeinated, and at least 50 feet away from all historical monuments. He's the man who once successfully argued with a GPS until it started crying. He's faster than a speeding snail and capable of overthinking a greeting card at a single bound. Hide your snacks and lock your doors. Here's the madman.
Welcome to another edition of the Madman Cafe. I'm your resident madman. Thank you for joining us here live Tuesday on a very, very warm day here in NYC. I tell you, we're about almost 90 out here, surprisingly. And the worst part, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, we're going back down to like the 50s and 60s. Figure that one out. The weather has been insane here in NYC. There's a lot going on. We're going to get into it in just a moment. We got a couple of our guest panelists in the background on there. First thing, we just want to introduce this. We have a new t-shirt design. It is on our website. It is available. It's not available below, but you can go click on over it. It's part of our new cafe line. Stay curious, stay informed, stay mad. It is available right now at a great price. With an addition, you can get an additional 10% off on your purchase. Just type in the code "Stay Mad" as one word, "Stay Mad," and you'll get it. Of course, obviously, on the back of the T-shirt reflects our new Q2Cast TV logo, and of course, YouTube and Rumble on there as well. So remember, it's Stay Mad, 10% off. That's going to be running straight through now until the end of June. So you got some great stuff on there to that situation. Also, I just wanted to bring this quick up. We're going to be talking about this on Man with the Show, but it seems Mappa and K2 Studios will be adapting this manga right here, Gigant. Since we're getting a remake of the 50-Foot Woman. Basically, let me bring this a little bit more closer here. The 50-Foot Woman with Margot Robbie. This is similar to the situation. The only difference is the main character is a porn star. That's the reason why a lot of anime and manga fans will tell you on a bingo card, this was not expected. It is a good manga, but this was not expected to be put into a adaptation. It is going to be a movie adaptation on there, coming soon on there. So let's bring in the panelists. Now, a couple are going to be a little bit late. We are going to be talking about Tom Kane today, but it's going to be later on the show as they arrive. So we're going to tackle a lot of main stuff immediately. We got Dean with us from across the pond.
Hi,
and we got Outpost also from down
90,
south.
90 degrees, how quaint.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, how you doing? Thanks for showing up on there. Dave,
talk to me when you get to triple digits and like 60% humidity.
Yeah, but it's a shocker on this end that we got that. That's the thing. But it's going back and forth. It's like One day it's like 60 degrees, the next day it's like 85, 90 degrees. Then we're going back down to 50 degrees. It's going back and forth like crazy. It's
Mm.
literally the temperatures are just all over the place. I mean, one day I got the heat on, the next day I got the air conditioner on.
I don't think we've switched off our heating yet. It every day just seems to be cold. We've been told it's like, and I got to use Celsius. I don't know the Fahrenheit, but we've been told, 17, 18, 19, 20 degrees Celsius feels like 5 or 6 degrees. So it's cold. It is so bitter.
Yeah. Before we get into the main subject, there's another thing I do want to bring up, and I'm giving it this a name. I'm calling it the Manson effect. And you know about the Luigi Mangione trial that's going on.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember what happened with Manson? Literally, when Charles Manson was on trial, they had all these women show up and everything. Well, it seems like Mangione, and this is the front page of today's paper on there. And if you haven't seen the video on this, I mean, this is what they said is totally insane. These are women that just literally they're praising Mangione for killing this man.
Yeah.
And it's like, it reminds me of the Charlie Manson days. They're out front and the thing is, they got, if you notice what's around their necks, they have passes for the trial.
Yeah, that's complete idiocy on the New York court system to let them in.
I mean, it is just, and that they're sitting there for hours to to get in. They're just literally
plastic.
Huh?
They literally look plastic.
I know.
The three of them, they look like mannequins.
Oh yeah.
Ugh,
jeez. I mean, I saw this morning and I said, "Holy crap!" This is still going on. That they're just like, really, because that trial is, there's been ups and downs on that trial, and you don't know which direction that this is going to go yet. But you have the video footage. I mean, this guy did it. Obviously on the video footage, he was there. And it's ridiculous. It's just seeing all these people just lining up saying, "Yay, they got rid of somebody."
It's this whole mentality that has been pushed, that people have bought into, that if you are successful, if you become rich, you did it on the back of someone else. You stole it from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea, I failed. I'm not rich. I'm not a millionaire. You are. It's your fault I'm not. You deserve to be unalived.
Exactly. I mean, it is just, I hear it every day.
And you hear from your mayor every day.
Oh, well, I mean, we had a protest out at Brighton Beach. Yes, on Sunday. There was a major protest out there, and then you had some guys show up to heckle the protesters, but they didn't expect the Brooklyn cops to step in, and the Brooklyn cops did step in and kick them out. Because basically, when it comes to the Brighton people, the Brighton Beach people, Coney Island, those people, a lot of them are immigrants still. A lot of those, the Russian, Central Bloc countries, Jewish.
Yeah.
A lot of them are still, this is like the elderly group that came over when they were kids to the United States. Stuff you see like in the movie Once Upon a Time in America. There's still a generation of that around, and when you get them all together one time, that's you don't want to see that coming.
You mentioned Manson. You mentioned Manson You mentioned Manson a minute ago. I actually had a friend in school growing up. Her parents met because of Charlie Manson.
Really?
And not in the way you think. Not like they weren't part of his group or anything. They weren't fans of his. If I remember right, that was Ted Bundy. Never mind.
Okay, they're all insane. They're all the same.
Yeah, it was the same thing with Ted Bundy. He was so good looking, people wanted him to get away with it, and he came through my region. It was actually caught over, I think, in Mobile, and he terrorized FSU Tallahassee. And my friend's mom was in a sorority at the time, and her dad was hired as security. So they always joked around that, well, we met because of a serial killer. And people were like, what? And yeah, he was protecting her sorority.
Mm-mm-mm. So, we'll monitor this a little bit with this on, because this is still going on in the courts down in Manhattan on there. And like I said, there are a lot of these women that just like they're swooning over this guy. And I mean, what was the movie? I think it was called Helter Skelter. I think it was. There's a Charlie Manson movie about the trial itself. It's available out there. They did it like sometime after the trial. I think it was like late 70s on that. And it showed how insane the things that went on during this trial, during the Manson trial, and the similarities to what's going on down in Manhattan, is amazing that you're seeing this all over again. It's like we're going through, the way people are acting and all the insanity and all that. It's like we're going through the 60s all over again.
Oh, definitely.
To that point, because all you see in these people that they want socialism, communism, or whatever however you want to call it, and it's like the thought pattern. I mean, I gotta say the people in the 60s were much more intelligent than the ones today, considering the education that they're getting today. It's just insane. So let's move on. Let's move on to the situation. Our main subject today, we're going to bring this up real quick on there, and come on. Yes, it's the state of Texas versus Netflix. Probably a lot of you haven't heard about this yet, because basically the media has kept this a little quiet. I mean, it is out there in the mega rags, but major media is not covering this. They're covering it for about 10 seconds, or they're not covering it at all. And basically, let me just go over the overview for this case. Sorry. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton filed a lawsuit against Netflix, accusing the streaming giant of violating the Texas Deceptive Trade Practices Act by secretly harvesting user data, sharing it with advertisers without consent, and using addictive dark patterns like the autoplay feature. The state major allegations and desired outcomes include the lawsuit claims Netflix acted as a behavior surveillance program that monitors and logs viewers' habits, clicks, and search activity to sell data to commercial data brokers and ad tech companies. Predatory design. Texas alleges that Netflix autoplay feature and binge watching tools act as dark patterns designed to eliminate stopping cues and keep users, especially children, addicted to the platform. State demands. Paxton is seeking permanent injunction to force Netflix to disable the autoplay feature by default on children's profiles, seizing user consumer data for targeted advertising, and pay up to $10,000 per violation in civil penalties. Netflix response is Netflix has denied the allegations, stating that the lawsuit lacks merit, is built on inaccurate information, and the company takes subscriber privacy very seriously. Now, this is an election year. And hold on a second, Proud Post. Let me finish this. It's an election year. And, you notice every election year, there's always, I'm going to help the people. And this happens from state to state, even here in New York. We got a couple things on the back burner out there that Kathy Hochul's trying to do, but that's going to hurt the people more than help. Now, Paxton, him and his wife, I don't like or dislike the guy, but they tend to sort of throw in a lot of the stuff in media, streaming, physical media itself. They're worrying about drawings and stuff, and it gets a little insane. I mean, there are some lawsuits that are legitimately should be happening in the state of Texas. A lot of the other stuff, and I'm going to say off the bat on here, it's it's insane because you have, and what is it? Dave says, hate the autoplay feature. Tubi's new interface is a prime example of this. Yeah, there are multiple other streaming sites that have this similar feature. All these streaming sites have a shutdown button for it. You know when you log into something, whether it's a website, streaming site, and all that, know what you're logging into. Because there are things there that are easily put out. Outpost, what are your thoughts?
Hold on a sec. I'm checking something.
Okay, no problem. Dean, go ahead.
No, Tubi does not have the way to opt out of it because I'm looking at it right now.
No. I'm not saying Tubi has a way to opt out. That's in most
That's
companies.
exactly what you just said. Most companies have it.
Most companies, right? Most companies. And the thing that hang on a second. Tubi did have it. Hold on a minute.
I just checked it. I just went to the end of Star Trek Into Darkness, and it had the autoplay for the next movie.
No, you got to go.
There'll be a setting somewhere.
There is a setting. I recall there was. I'm going to check it myself.
If you remember back, I think it was round about 2016, 17, around about there, YouTube hit a big problem with this. They had autoplay, and parents put an iPad in front of their kid or a tablet. The kid watches a cartoon or something on YouTube, and the autoplay kept kicking in, and people found an exploit for it. So what they would do is they'd craft these animated things that made absolutely no sense, but they had all the right metadata, and kids would start watching absolute weird stuff. But it was all designed to just be part of this churn, this autoplay churn that YouTube had, so that they could get advertising clicks and stuff like that. So YouTube's been through a lot of the kind of autoplay stuff with this, and it's very clear now with YouTube. When you get to the end of a video, you got a little button that you can click to say don't autoplay, and they've toughened all of their regulations around what children consume, including making sure that these strange videos aren't being put in front of children and stuff like that. So it sounds like there's a bit of catch up with Netflix on this one and other streaming services, almost like YouTube was because they were considered slightly different, not really a streaming service. It's more user generated content. I'm wondering whether the streaming platforms thought they could get away with some of the practices that were happening in YouTube back then.
I don't see any. Okay,
that's what I'm looking right now. For some reason, I can't access everything. I have to go through. There was one. I remember there was one on here.
I'm looking under content setting. Doesn't say that. Notifications, no. Just says weekly letter. Then continue watching in my list.
But there has been one before because I know I've turned one off before.
I don't see it.
Well, I haven't looked at it since it's updated. So they may have taken it out. They'll probably put it back in, concerning this situation. But the thing about it is that, like I said, most of these sites, they do have a way of turning this stuff off. Or they will stop playing after a certain time period. They'll go after, like I said, Netflix has it on there on auto 5 or 6 episodes and then stop. It'll ask you, are you still watching?
YouTube has it to where you can autoplay up to an hour.
Yeah.
To when the video ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll put on a playlist of music and then go to sleep and just
a lot of people use it for sleep too.
But that's not, I think, what this is about.
No. If you got a playlist, it won't be auto playing. It'll be playing the playlist. So that'll keep going.
But
Hit the end of the playlist, then goes on to autoplay.
You can put a time limit on how long the playlist goes through, up to an hour.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I usually do.
Well, apparently Tubi does not offer a universal way of switching off its autoplay.
Yeah, that must be as of recent.
Yeah.
And with this recent update, which is like it said in the chat, like D-Pen said, it sucks. This new interface on Tubi sucks.
Yeah, Tubi's still tweaking. They're still tweaking, but they're still gaining popularity because it's free. That's the best part.
Yeah.
You're watching product that on that versus what's the highest level they have? What, $25 now? It's on Netflix.
Something like that. Yeah. Which is all the it's all the 4K stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm paying with ads. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm paying. I'm not paying with ads. I'm sorry. I'm paying the $20. Oh shit! I just realized that I'm paying the $20 because it just came out the other day. And it's to that point. And like I said, going over this itself from the data point of view, and you have to look at the two definitions on here. And lately a lot of politicians like to cram everything together and saying, "Oh, everything is bad," but you have to separate. You got to go between the lines, especially with a lot of bills and a lot of lawsuits. When it comes out of a politician, because basically you have to understand how the company works. Now, listen, I'm not 100% defending Netflix. There's a lot of shit that Netflix is doing that it's just like, but they're also trying to fix some things also as well. So it's like, it's a 50-50 toss up whether you like them or dislike them onto their, last night. I'll tell you honestly, last night I just finished the TV series of the remake of Denzel Washington's Man on Fire that they made a TV series out of. It was pretty good. Unfortunately, I think the last 2 episodes were rushed because it's only 7 episodes. And they left it off for a season 2. So it's probably I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. The guy who played Manta Ray in Aquaman is playing.
I know who you're talking about. I can picture him, but I can't remember his name.
He's playing the Denzel role. He's playing the John Kersby role in there. And it's a good cast. It's pretty good on there. It takes place all in Brazil, so there's a lot of Brazilian subtitles. In the
I'm not
episode.
going to try to say this name. Holy cow!
I know. I can't say his name either. Sonia Braga's daughter is in this also too. She has a role in this. But getting back to the data collection part on here. This is the definition for both of these, because there are 2 levels: collection data to be shared and data selling. Data selling is transferring or licensing personal information to a third party in exchange for direct financial payment or valuable consideration. Typical parties: data brokers, credit agencies, and third-party marketers. Under the state's privacy laws, such as the CPRA, consumers have the legal right to opt out of data sales using there's a site called Do Not Sell My Information. You could do this outside of the website also, or the streaming site, because there are ways of doing this as well. Examples: packaging of a list of customer email addresses and selling it to a telemarketing firm. And this is like, if you ever gotten a credit card, hey, you could have this credit card this way, you qualify, or you got something medical or some crazy ad that you was like, I've never signed up for this. They're selling your data, or any crazy email. Now, collection data to be shared: disclosing or making personal information available to a third party, primarily to facilitate targeting behavior, advertising, regardless of whether direct money is exchanged. Okay. Social media platforms, analytic companies, and advertising networks. Also, state regulators require organizations to provide consumers the ability to halt this as well through Do Not Sell My Personal Information links on global and broader settings. Now, selling the data and collecting data. Collecting data is important because basically, how does a site know what you like? What are you watching? They could throw up 100 movies, and you may hate all 100 movies. If they sit there and don't collect that information, they're going to continue putting on those movies. What's going to happen? Eventually, they're going to go out of business. The site, it's not going to work. Everything from grocery shopping to online services collects some sort of data that is shared. On the other case, some companies do both, that they data selling and collecting of data as well, to be shared off too. Because basically some companies says like, hey, listen, if it's a particular, you might have, for example, Whole Foods. Whole Foods might say, hey, listen, ShopRite, you want some my customer thing, on there, because your customer is my customer. You're going to get that. This is something that happens normally. The data selling, yeah, it's an issue. Long as you're able to opt out. What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
Go ahead, Dean. I've been talking.
Yep, not a problem. so long as you can opt out. This is why we have GDPR rules over in Europe and the UK. It's so that you understand what data information is being collected on you by who and what its purpose is for. Doesn't stop your data being collected because sometimes they need to collect data to perform a service. But what you can do is restrict how that data is used. So prevent it from being shared or prevent it from being sold. Where you start to hit problems, though, is when you have a service that tries to hide your ability to do so. And the one thing I'd say with GDPR, it's got to be upfront. It's got to be right in front of your face. So when we go onto Netflix here, the one thing I note is every time I go back to Netflix for a month or two that I typically do a year to catch up on stuff, my account is completely fresh again. There's no information. There's nothing. You're going in completely clear. It's got none of your kind of watch lists or it doesn't know what you want to watch. So you kind of have to build that up again. But I found with Netflix, it keeps repeating the same stuff and it's always wrong. So I don't know what the algorithms are doing. It's woeful. It's a bit of an aside, but you go scrolling through Netflix and I just want the kind of thing you had in the store where you would go to a shelf and you would just scroll through the shelf looking for stuff. And every single streaming service, Prime included, you don't do that. It tries to suggest what you want to watch. And then it keeps suggesting the same things and the same things. So you get suggested 20 to 30 titles. And you're there going, I know your catalog is thousands and thousands. And these 20 to 30 don't interest me. I want to browse the catalog. And it's just impossible. But coming back to this, it should always be clear. And I believe, I was just looking it up, I think Netflix got fined. I just need to double check it in, where did they get fined? They got fined in the Dutch, so the Netherlands, the Dutch Data Authority fined them 4.75 million euros. And this was back in 2024 for not clearly informing users about how their personal information was being stored or being used. So there's a lot of legislation out here. All Texas is doing is probably using what's already on the law books to go at Netflix and to say, we think what you're doing is against the recommendations and the good practice of these laws. And if we find that you're guilty, we can then levy fines against you. So, and it's all being done in the pretext, which is quite correct, of protecting the consumer, and that's always good. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Consumer on that Outpost.
That's the thing you keep saying. Oh, you can opt out. The average person does not know that. I didn't know that until just now. So
that's why that option should be immediate. It shouldn't be hidden. It shouldn't be optional. I think because we have GDPR, I think part of the GDPR stipulation is it has to be upfront and it has to be one of the first things you do before they can store your information.
Well, no, when you sign on, they do give you the option when you sign up.
Oh my!
No, hang on, Outpost. When you sign up and you're filling through the whole thing, you got to look at it carefully. It does have a little switch that says, "I opt out to having my information sold out." If you don't see that, basically if you go into the settings, you're able to do it. If not, you can go, there is that website you can go over and it takes care of every website.
Madman, you're expecting the average person to take the time to do this. The average person, Madman, the average person is not going to. The average person is lazy. We are lazy creatures.
You're right. We are.
We are. This is the sake for like. This is like what Ben Franklin said. You're willing to give up. You're willing to give up to freedom for security. You're willing to give up convenience for like.
Let me ask you this: do you remember the South Park episode with the Apple one where they had the human centipede iPad?
Yes, this is exactly what it is.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Most people don't read that. You should take the time. You should take the moment and say, "What am I signing into?"
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. If a pig had wings, he should fly. It's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen. So You're
but you don't want
absolutely
the government
right.
also
No.
to your choice also.
You're absolutely right, Outpost, and this is why a lot of people advocate for an opt-in system. And I don't know whether I think GDPR is an opt-in system, so you have to agree to opt in to your data being shared. But I think over your neck of the woods, I don't think it is an opt-in. So it comes down to if people are lazy, if people don't understand, which is a great assumption to make, the average person on the street, that's a kind of test of law. Will the average person on the street understand this law? And that's used as a test to see whether something's too complicated or not. It needs to be opt-in. But the problem you get is that these companies, they're unscrupulous. They'll word something like, would you like advertisements targeted to you? And you'll be like, oh, yes, because I don't want just any advert. And bang, you give them permission to start collecting and harvesting and selling your data. So you've got to be careful. Whenever a company's asking to do something, I think the default should always be no.
Yeah, it's like what I can't. Was it? I think it was in Tennessee or Virginia, or one of the Appalachian states, that when they tried to redraw their voting map. The state Supreme Court said no, the wording of the ballot was too complicated. It was not clear enough. This is what this is the same thing we're finding out with all these these settings. They're worded to an insane degree that we don't know what it means. Like,
well, that's where the
this?
FTC comes in. That's where yeah.
The scariest words you could ever hear from somebody is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yeah, exactly. Because and Dave says correct. People are so willing to give up so much these days, and that's true.
We saw how much just a few years ago. That was Virginia. Thank you.
That was Virginia. Yeah, I was about
to
say that.
Yeah, Virginia or West Virginia. I couldn't remember. But it's like, do you remember in that episode, the episode of Community, where Ron actually buys something online? Or he goes online and sees like an ad saying, hey, Ron Swanson, you might like this. He calls in April, like, what's going on? And it's that meme where he's throwing it becomes a meme. He's throwing their computer into the dumpster and everything in it. What's up, Snob?
Hiya, Snob.
That's...
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, evening, everybody.
I don't trust the government. I don't like being tracked. And this is what it's doing. It's tracking my behavior.
Yeah, but I've just pulled up the differences between what we've got over here, GDPR, and your version, your privacy laws. And within the GDPR model, a lot of this is you've got to opt in to be able to do stuff. So consent's required. Yours is you've got to opt out. And that's where you get the sticking point. That's where they can automatically have the switch saying, yes, we're going to share your information. And if you miss it when you're creating your account, tough, that they can now share your information.
I mean, like I'm looking just at the lawsuit. It's 59 freaking pages.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Read between the lines. It was the same thing with SB 70 also. It was like fifth. Yeah. And it's like, and a lot of it's vague talk.
Yes.
Because you don't know what you're real. You say you don't understand what the terms of service means. You don't know what the lawsuit really means, because they could just say, "Hey, listen, let's just get rid of this and get rid of that," and you're like, "What the fuck happened to the website?" And he says, "Well, we can't do it anymore because basically, it's
that's
not something that you want, and they get rid of something you wanted."
Figure out how to do it in the confines of the law.
Yeah, that's so the thing. Of course, when it's vague, it's trouble. That's trouble in itself. Whenever they write a law and it's very vague, it's like the censorship laws.
No, I agree.
Because they say, we're going after the adult material, but it says, but what do you consider adult material? Anything from R-rated up is adult material. Anything that has like romance, fighting, action, can be considered adult material.
It's like this whole thing a couple of years ago where they were going after anime. What is the one anime that Lindsey Graham used on the floor of the house as an example? Do you remember?
No, I know Assassination Classroom has been used a lot.
Panty and Stocking.
Oh.
He picked the worst one you could think of.
And the thing is, Probably. When was that? When was that? Because the new series just came out recently. After how many years?
I don't remember exactly. I think it was during the Biden year, so it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, Panty and Stocking was already out at least 6 years.
Yes.
So he's quoting a show that basically is years old. You know, it's like you might as well go back to the 80s. It's, you know, go to Kite, you know, at least, you know.
D-Pen asks a great question. How far is regulation behind 20 years?
Yeah.
Law is usually about 10 or 20 years. That's why it's so hard. You know, swatting is attempted murder, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You're using the cops as your weapon. But it's so far behind, they can't. There's no way to tell who called. There's no way to. It's very rarely prosecuted, and even more so successfully. Using swatting.
If the person swatting makes mistakes, then it's prosecuted every time. But typically, someone who knows what they're doing, using an IP phone with masked IP, VPN, stuff like that, they can get away with it.
There was an incident I remember. A guy was swatted. He had a heart attack and died when the cops came in. So it's not, and a lot of times cops will realize, oh shit, this is wrong.
Yeah. So there you go. You've got it there. The thing to bear in mind, under US law, each state is responsible for their privacy legislation.
This is Netflix. This is under the Netflix privacy rules.
Yeah. So Netflix will have something that kind of satisfies all jurisdictions. Yeah. The problem you've got is, I bet you, and I'm trying to remember now, it would be whether those are automatically on or off. And I think if it detects a Europe or UK based IP, those are potentially going to be switched off and you have to opt in. Whereas within the US, they're happy to have those on. So if you miss those, that's it. It takes your data.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each country is different one from the other to the situation on there. And yeah, you're right. We're years behind it, and that's one of the reasons why is country to country. But also, to the point, is you have a group of turn that off. A group of politicians that are going to sit there and try to change the situation so to their advantage by plugging something in that has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's basically they'll try to. It's like with the CASA and the online safety bills. They're trying to sneak in so much in there that literally it's like, you know, it's going to become to the point where they could censor the internet, censor you know, on stage comedy, you know, anything that offends people. It's just like, say, oh, I was offended by the apple. Get rid of the apples. You know, that you know, that's going a little crazy, but still, that's the mentality that they have now, you know, in Washington. You know, that, you know, you got a lot of people crazy on there, and it's on both sides. You know, it's, you know, it's mostly the left. You know, pretty much high on the left, but there are couples on the right as well, and a couple in between as well too. To that point, Stop. You want to jump in on this?
Yeah. Well, you know, I missed the first part of the conversation, so I'm not sure, you know, how far along the rabbit hole you've gone. But just reading the, you know, the news article about, I was struck by the whole, you know, what the Texas AG alleges, and then what the you know, Netflix's reply. Did you guys read that at all or anything?
Yeah, we did.
Not yet.
We
what,
did on that.
what Netflix says?
Well,
what their reply?
Just briefly.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, read it if you. Yeah, go ahead, read it. If we can go back at it.
Well, it's just you know, on my show we just did Capricorn 1, right?
Right.
Movie night, and Capricorn 1 is the the movie that sort of flipped Americans, you know, Western Americans' perception about the government. Before that, people were generally believe the government told the truth. And then, of course, you know, the U.S. government's like, oh, no, we didn't assassinate those people. We didn't do this. And then after Watergate, all these various investigations came out following years. And there was all this, you know, people are like, oh, guess what? They did assassinate those guys. Oh, yes, they were behind this. Oh, yes. All these sort of things came out. And that's when people started, stop believing in the government. That was kind of the first part of it, and also where all your moon landing conspiracy stuff comes out. And I just just reading the article, let me just try to find it here. What Netflix says, it reads like a typical statement. Respectfully to the great state of Texas and Attorney General Paxton, this lawsuit lacks merit and is based on inaccurate and distorted information. How? Oh, they didn't say why. How? Netflix takes our members' privacy seriously and complies with privacy and data protection laws everywhere we operate. We look forward to addressing the allegations in court and further explaining our industry-leading kid-friendly parent controls and transparent privacy practices. I mean, that's the typical thing that everybody says after these things come out, right? And I was just struck by, based on where we are now and how cynical everybody is towards, government, big corporations. How am I supposed to believe that? That reads like a guilty statement to me. That's like, hey, yeah, we were doing it, we got caught, and now we're going to have to scramble to try to justify it or hide the evidence or something, because that's the kind of response that always comes out after these things.
Well, they are collecting data. They do admit that they're collecting data, but the main gist of it is that, that they're selling the data, not sharing it.
Right.
Which basically there is, like we were explaining earlier.
That is the biggest case of semantics I've ever fucking heard.
Exactly. No, there's a big difference between selling and sharing. There is a very big difference.
But I'm saying what I'm saying, Dean, is that we're probably gonna, oh no, we were just sharing it, and then we're gonna find out that there was some under the table tit for tat thing, which basically, no, we weren't selling it because the guy didn't hand me money and I handed them the data, but there's some sort of workaround and one of these,
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, I agree.
That's what these always turn out to be. I mean, their job is to make money.
I need to get under the covers because hell just froze over because Snob and I agreed on something.
You are a product, and that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Dave has a question. It says, "Are you?" And this is toward Dean. Are you having the data center situation in the UK like we are here?
We're starting to. So you're leading the way when it comes to the damage data center these AI data centers are causing, and they are causing the sheer amount of power that they're drawing. I saw an article about the fact you got new data centers being created and they're designed to run off gas generators and stuff like this. So we're all being taxed to the hilt for this net zero stuff, and then AI data centers have been given a kind of free ride to pollute as much as they want, all because AI is the next big thing and best thing. But in the UK, our grid is straining. We are having problems, and the public is slowly becoming aware of the fact that these data centers, wherever they're going up, although they're not well publicized, but wherever they're going up, they're going to start to cause problems. So we are lagging behind you, but I suspect probably in the next 2-3 years, maybe 4 years, I think we'll be in the same position, and there will be local areas that are suffering with the data centers going in. So we'll wait and see, but you're definitely leading the way over in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that brings up when you're talking about power and all that from data centers being used, this also shows how much power that the lack of that we have in this country. Because basically, if you can't run a data center on itself off of, say, for example, a nuclear reactor and not interfere with the general public, that's fine if it doesn't interfere with the public. But if it's interfering, then you got a problem here. Then you don't have enough juice to handle it. And this was the same thing with battery operated car. The battery cars. They said they want to pop up all these little charging stations on throughout the country. We don't have enough juice to run those. If you're popping them up everywhere, where are you going to get the juice from? You're going to draw the juice from elsewhere. And that's going to affect the people that are living around them, those units.
The last nuclear power plant to ever come online in America was in 1997.
No, actually, you're incorrect. It's coming online now in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia has a small one.
Okay, before now, then.
All right. It's coming up now. Okay. Nobody's talking about it. It's very hidden. But there is a plant that's going online in Atlanta, Georgia. I think they're doing the finalization on it right now, if it hasn't gone online yet.
the West, we're going to be having roaming brownouts in the West, like Arizona, California, Nevada, all those states that get their power from the Hoover Dam, because the Hoover Dam is about the what's the river that feeds the Hoover Dam?
Isn't that the Colorado River?
Yes, the Colorado River is about to get too low to reach the intakes
Mm-hmm.
in about a year or two.
Yep.
Or less.
Yeah. So back in 2006, I had a tour of the HP Center in Houston, and they've got a huge data center back there. So this is, you know, the early 2000s. They had a power station attached to the data center because they were saying at the time the power draw for cooling and running the servers was so great that during peak times they'd have to kick up their own power generation because the grid wouldn't allow them to draw what they needed. So this has always been a problem when it comes to power hungry data centers. But the problem with your AI data centers is it's just there's sheer amount of processing power you've got there, the cooling you need, the water, everything is just magnified and just getting worse and worse as more and more companies start to utilize big AI models and stuff like that. You then got on top of that, you've got, I believe, governments starting to talk about using AI models. This is why they want things like digital ID, because they want all that information being collected and collated and knowing what you're doing, where you're doing it, how you're doing it, so they can feed it into their predictive AI models and start to make these.
There are already countries in like the Norwegian countries. They've already said, "Come out. We use AI to make simple decisions every day, like the simplest decisions. They use it for everything up in like Norway, Sweden, and all that."
Oh, you've got a big problem where there's normal people who will not do anything now until they consult their AI. It's becoming a real problem. It's really, you know. It comes back to what we said. People have lost faith and trust in the government. So people want to trust something, and AI comes along, and wow, this AI can tell me all these great things. That, you know, it's better than a search engine, which is very true. But you can quickly become too reliant, and then you can't make a decision.
This sounds like we're going into the origins.
Confirmed what decision? It's okay.
No, go ahead.
Y'all are kind of freezing up on me a little bit, so I'm sorry if I
okay.
talk over y'all. Restream does that. I don't have this problem on StreamYard, but this is like the Butlerian Jihad in Dune. This is where I feel like we're going. We're going to give everything over to these thinking machines, and I know if I'm saying this before Cam gets here, so not to not to trigger him. But it's getting ridiculous. I working in the schools, we had such a problem with kids using AI. And I was talking to my friend Kaiser Pineapple last night. He's a writer, and he says it's getting like, if you like ChatGPT, Grok, Meta, they all, when you put in some writing, it talks a certain way. And after a while, you could tell, okay, he used one word as an example that ChatGPT uses. I can't remember what it was, but it speaks in a certain way, so like you can tell when it's AI.
Yeah, you have to speak to it because I use it for my thumbnails. And
see, that's different. That's different. You're upfront about it. I was working with kids trying to pass it off as their own work.
No, you could. You want to hear something funny? Try passing it off and putting it online, and you'll see what happens. Like, go to Twitter, and I mean X. When you put a thumbnail or a photo up to the situation, do you know what happens? It says "made with an AI" at the bottom of the screen.
You can fool that.
So there are ways of there is
no. We've had a situation where we use Canva or used to use Canva for thumbnails. We still use it for a bit, and we would put all of our stuff in. No AI has touched this thumbnail, and then we'd upload it as our advert. And X would be going, made with AI, and we're like, AI hasn't touched this. This is stuff we've made. I then took the image, fed it, brought it up into Photoshop, and then just exported it straight from Photoshop. Reloaded that up. No warning. Because it's looking at metadata most of the time.
Yeah, it's looking at metadata, but also Canva happens to be one of the sites that A lot of the AI systems would like when you're doing like t-shirt generation or AI or thumbnail generation, sometimes it recommends Canva. Sometimes it recommends Photoshop. So, I'm thinking that sometimes the metadata it picks it up on Canva, even though if you made it yourself, it will pick it up
Yeah,
as
it's
as
picking up
AI.
the Canva metadata and assuming you've done it in Canva, likelihood is it's AI, and they just hit you with the AI
Yeah,
tag.
and they hit you with that, and that has to be fixed. There's a lot of the stuff that has to be fixed with this. It's none of this. It's another, like I said, I've said this before. AI is a tool. It will always be a tool to the situation, and it should be treated as a tool. You shouldn't be afraid of it, because basically it's only a tool. It's it's the person using the tool that determines, whether it's something that's good, something that's bad, or something that's really, like, truly evil. That's on any technology in itself.
Absolutely.
So there are many things. They've always, like, going back to the power situation. They said, "Oh, nuclear reactors could be bombs and stuff like that." Says, do you understand what nuclear reactors are and how they work? No, you don't, because that's not what Generally, that does happen. Yes, there are nuclear reactor breaches. There are leaks and stuff like that. That happen that badly can damage the area surrounding it to the north. It is not like what you see in the movies. Or fictional books or stuff like that.
Yeah, we live in
go ahead.
such a time where everyone thinks it's like it's just what like in the movies. They think that like it's like a court case is like Law and Order done in an hour. No, if you don't, you gotta look at the dates. It's weeks and months between each scene in Law and Order. It's ridiculous that why don't you just take looking at the cop? Why don't you just shoot him in the leg? That's not gonna stop him.
That's not going to stop. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you know who else is building nuclear reactors right now?
China.
No, Microsoft.
Oh, Microsoft is building one.
They're going to use them to power data centers, and they're also looking at small modular reactors and fusion power.
Well, that's the new reactors now. They're all small. They're not,
they're
3 Mile
not
Island or Fukushima size. They're all tiny. They're literally a small building now.
So this is an area of interest of me, and for the past, if you go do some, reading up on this stuff, I've been, watching it for 10 years. Stuff, just as a sort of, aside. I'm not an expert by any means, but there are so many different types of nuclear reactors that they're working on: thorium, saltwater, mini reactors, micro reactors, all kinds of them. One of the options for a reactor were these micro reactors, which you could have if you had a farm or not a suburban house, but if you had a bigger piece of property, you could get this nuclear reactor. It lasts for 7 years. It's completely sealed in itself. The company would come and bury it on your property and run power lines, and it would last for 7 years. And you would basically power your own house, and then you could sell the idea was people could sell it back to the grid, right? And then 7 years later, they'd come and they just sort of change it out, and it would take a couple of days or whatever. But there was an idea. So there's all kinds of, there's ones that are you say building, that's like we're talking a sea container type size or smaller than that,
like a shed
for some of these things. Yeah, a shed. Like, it depends on the size, but there's all kinds of ideas out there, and people have been testing these sort of things. But the biggest problem, of course, is regulation. The government regulations have not caught up to this, which is why we haven't seen these things deployed. The U.S. military is looking at, there was talk about electrical powered Army military vehicles, which everyone laughed at because, you run out of power, you're screwed. But there was a plan where, the U.S. government could drop these modular reactors in an area. You go, all right, we're going to go here, set up a base. You drop these modular reactors, drop, 1, 2, 20, 30, however many you need, and just run it from there. And which was making, perhaps electric powered military vehicles a little more, possible, but maybe not. But there's tons and tons of ideas out there, and I suggest anybody who's interested in it to look it up, because there's all kinds of ideas that are not in the mainstream you haven't heard, which are very interesting regarding nuclear.
Yep.
Much safer, everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, BB, how you doing today? thank you for showing up on there. Also, Cam just texted me. He's on the way. He's still delayed just a bit on where he's at, but he's trying to get here. So we'll still go on a bit, and we'll finish up what we're talking about here. Just to close out here. One thing I know someone online was talking about is like that they throw ads on the kids' profiles, and I saw this running around the internet. And I looked it up. On the kid profiles, ads are not shown on kid profiles. Just to throw that out there.
I wanted to hit something else that.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, that Q and Dean were saying. AI is just a tool. Now, generally, I would agree with that, but the only problem with AI is that it's a tool that is perhaps not right now, but it has the potential to be able to build itself, program itself, replicate itself. So I think, I mean, there's a million science fiction tropes about AI running amok. It's we can see it everywhere. But I think that this is, while it is a tool, it is potentially more than that, and we need to be aware of that and keep a closer eye on it. It's not like a hammer where it's a hammer can be used to hammer a nail or kill a person depending on the motivation of the person using it. This is a tool that can potentially build itself and self-motivate itself. So it needs to be watched a little more closely.
Yeah. Can I just counter something there with you, Snob, which is
No.
Thanks. I'll just no. Every time. So AI has one critical flaw in it, which is it needs human interaction to remain relevant and to grow. Where they close off an AI model, so it only feeds itself, they have what they call model collapse. The whole language model collapses because AI feeding itself, replicating itself, it's not getting new stimulus. So it ends up in these kind of inaccurate things. It's telling itself stuff that it thinks is real, and you get kind of Chinese whispers and stuff like that happening because you haven't got the stuff that humans bring in, or all the more unusual stuff. It's not getting that external stimuli coming in to kind of keep building its model and keep its model relevant. So every single AI that tries to go into self-replication suffers with model collapse and dies. It becomes more and more inaccurate. The only model that has lasted the longest has been Grok so far. But even Grok in these confined environments, even Grok collapses after a certain point. So at the moment, yeah, AI is definitely a tool. I think we're going to be finding the limitations of AI. And I hope there are limitations, because if there are not, we are entering a scary new world.
Yeah, and you could be correct, but my point is that we don't know, and
we don't.
just like that, we believe that there is a certain level of intelligence that will that equals consciousness. There is potentially something that we don't know about in AI that after a certain size, it can reach some sort of consciousness, and then it would be able to self-replicate, by itself, or even prevent us from shutting it down and preventing it from going out into the real world and gaining more feedback. So while I agree that's the way it is now, I could easily foresee a time where that might not hold true, and we don't know if they will all continue to collapse on themselves, or like I said, they'll reach some sort of certain level, and then that'll be it. It'll be it'll achieve consciousness, so to speak.
I'm looking forward to finding out where we go with this, but I was kind of scared, kind of looking forward to it. I think we are years, if not decades, away from true AI in that respect. And I think true AI will only come around when it replicates how we view the world, because it's that view of the world, that processing of the world, that creates our uniqueness and our different takes and the complexity that an AI model needs to keep itself relevant before it starts digging itself into a ditch. Its creativity bottoms out and it begins hallucinating. That said, with some of us, we end up in hallucinations and stuff like that. You just need to look at the poor Commander Sinclair and the health issues he went through, So
Yeah.
You know, I
Maybe
hope
we're
you're-
not too far off from AI.
I hope you're right about that, but I'm like again, I'm
Mm.
not sure because we don't know the limits. We've never, gone this way. It could be tomorrow that something
Well,
achieves consciousness.
ev-
It could already
everything-
have happened, or
Yeah.
it could be 20, 30 years away. We
I think
and
people are
especially
trying.
we don't know because
No.
we've just got to we just completed the government's hiding everything from us and no one knows what's going on. I mean, it could be out there already and we'd be like, oh, do, right?
Yeah.
Same with Trump and the aliens being UFO releases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but just getting back to the data privacy on there, and Dave puts up, is Netflix versus Texas case, is it the first of its kind? No, it is not. In fact, because I brought this up on here, state law enforcement lawsuits. These are the lawsuits that generally dealing with streaming and all that. That you have, of course, the Texas versus Netflix. Back in 2024, you had Texas versus TikTok, which is about almost similar marketing. You notice it says safe for children. This is the same thing you will hear every time. Think about the children. That's all. That joke from the Simpsons.
Simpsons,
Oh my God, think of the children. To that point, Texas versus Meta Facebook, which is basically facial recognition for failing to protect children on their situation. Do I have anything else here? Hang on one second. Yeah, and his social media regulations. Moody versus Net Choice CAI, Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton. That's another, of course, like I said, Texas is, they're notorious on these. A House Bill 18 to restrict minor access from certain digital content, broad text and streaming surveillance lawsuits. SB 70, which we talked about before, about the photographs, pictures, anime situations. This is a lot that happens with what's going on to this situation. Like I said, it's an election year. You're going to see this a lot of times in a lot of states to this point, and just Netflix alone, them suing is kind of a bit problematic. Because why did they choose Netflix itself? They could have gone after Amazon. They could have gone after Paramount. They could have gone after, they could have done this as a class action lawsuit against multiple companies, which has happened in most states, which they've gone after Meta, Netflix, and a couple other companies. But Paxton chose Netflix specifically. I wonder why is that?
That's a simple answer to that.
Go right ahead.
Because it's one of the biggest, it's probably the biggest streaming company in the world.
If you're trying to set precedent, you go for the smallest. They can't afford to fight you.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't
Well,
go
I
for the
think
big.
all
You always go for the small.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go for the easier win. You might think that they might think that this is the easier win versus something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
there could be
there's
other reasons.
Yeah, if there's fines in their legislation for wrongful, for implementing the statute wrong, then going for the big person is a wise choice. Because if you can prove it, the fine you can levy on them is so huge they'll be able to pay it. So it may be it's the money. It may be it's just trying to send a message, take down the big boy. Everybody else falls in line.
And like I said, it's an election year.
Yeah.
You tend to get the most lawsuits. If you look them up, most of the biggest lawsuits of the situation where they're going after big business or certain companies, it's a situation. It all comes out on an election year, and then suddenly when the elections are over,
two parts to
gone.
that though.
They're all gone. They either settled out of court or just the entire case has just been thrown in the garbage.
Okay, but the truth is, America is always having elections. Like you guys vote for dog catcher, like every 2 years you've got it's a big election year and stuff on the inside. So I mean, it's almost always. I would suggest maybe that the Texas AG is like looking to run for governor or something.
Ken, between him and his wife, they tend to preach a lot to the situation on a lot. When you look into a lot of the obscenity, the online safety bills, they're the one. There's some of the people that are behind some of this stuff, and it's, like I said, I'm like, toss up when it comes to Ken Paxton to the situation. There's a lot of people that don't like him because of his internet views on the internet and stuff like that. And it's just like I said, he keeps writing these lawsuits out, every 10 seconds or so. First, hey Cam, what are you doing?
Hey Cam.
Hi.
Yeah. The other thing, PB says AI is only a tool. However, it's being used to replace humans in the jobs that should require human thinking.
That's because it's been overpromised. Businesses have been told employ AI and you'll make all these savings. And so far, I don't think there's any business that has realized the savings yet. There's been lots of IT outages, lots of issues. In fact, there seems to be a scrabble for companies to start clamping down on AI because they know if there's no human input, AI gets things wrong. It needs that human sanity to keep it on the right track.
It's like how many times?
I think PB is right here. He says AI is not intelligence. Can't think. They're basically right now. I mean, maybe we'll get AI eventually, but right now these are these are large language models that have been sold by smart tech bros to various capital money men who don't know the difference, and they're getting a huge amount of money to invest in their companies for this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They've been told this is the next big thing, and they'll make loads of money. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. So we're going to monitor this and see what's going to happen next with this. Like I said, SB 70 is still hanging out there in Texas. So far, no one's been arrested. No one has sued or anything to that nature. So, that I think that's what's being weighed before SB 70 goes to SCOTUS. That's, for the imagery and stuff like that, which basically once it hits SCOTUS, it's done. That law is done. It just needs that lawsuit just to kick it into Kickstarter or someone to try to send it to SCOTUS to that point. Everything else, every lawsuit that's Texas, it's waiting to see what's going to happen next to that point. So we're going to move on. Before, reminder, everyone, subscribe, like, share, of course, obviously. Once again, come on. There we go. A little slow. Got the new t-shirt out there. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay mad. It is available right now in the Shop Cuticast shop on there, shopcuticast.com. It's gets an additional 10% off. Just stay mad. Just type in stay mad as one word. You'll get an additional 10% off on there. Obviously, it'll have our new Cuticast logo on the back as well. There, be able to wear it, be proud, that things are not the way they seem in the world. So, that situation. And now, since it's a little past the top of the hour, guess what time it is? It's time for another edition of The Silent Moment. On this week's version, we're going to play a little game. We're going to play which product is real and which product is fake. Okay? I have 3 products here. And we're going to see if they're legitimate or if they're fake. We're going to start off with this. It could be all 3 of them, or it could be none of them. You never know. So let's start off with this. The Fellowship Cup. What is the Fellowship Cup? The Fellowship Cup, it's geared up for Christians. If you're on the road and you feel you want to basically try to get God to forgive you on the road, it literally has a little wafer, communion wafer inside there, and a little bit of grape juice. For those of you on there,
it's pre-made communion.
It's pre-made communion. Yes, it's pre-made communion. It literally.
But don't you need a priest to actually?
It depends on what. No, it depends on your denomination.
It depends on the denomination. But literally, this is communion on the go. For those of you on vacation, can't get to the church, here we go.
Okay, what are you, a salesman?
Busy Christian.
I'm sorry?
You trying to sell it to us?
No, I'm giving you the information.
I'm teasing. I'm messing around. I'm joking.
Okay.
Are we voting on whether we think this is real?
It's for the busy Christian.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to give you all 3, and then you'll vote which one is real, fake, or are they all 3 fake onto the situation. Okay, we got this one. Number 2. It's Trader Joe's Gummy Worms Sweet and Sour Candies. Now, you may say to yourself, what's weird about this little packet, of sweet and sour? Well, from the information that we've gotten from Trader Joe's and anyone who has bought the product, if you eat a lot of this or if you eat the whole bag, unfortunately, you're going to be spending a lot of time on the porcelain altar. It seems the way the product is manufactured, it also acts as a laxative. So you get a little sweet and sour, and then you get a little sweet and sour. You get what I mean on that.
That's nasty.
Wait, what are we voting on for that one? Is whether it does?
No. I'm going to give you all three, and you're going to have to decide which one of them are fake and which one of them are real.
Okay, is this one advertised as sweet and sour plus it's laxative too? Is it advertised?
It's basically it's kind of a quirk. It's kind of a quirk.
Happy side effect.
Happy side effect to it.
Okay, good.
To that point. And supposedly, if it is real or if it is fake, it is being warned at the register point.
So I'm voting. Am I voting on whether this product exists or whether it actually makes you,
or is it just fake?
Or
we'll get to when we get to the
actually
end.
A laxative.
Yeah, wait till the end on that, and then we'll vote in on that. The last item, for those of you, your wine connoisseurs out there that love a little glass of wine. First they had the regular bottle of wine, then they gave the bigger bottle of wine, then they came out with the box of wine. Now, Costco has introduced
free advertising.
the bucket of wine. Guarantee you got 13 bottles of wine in one bucket itself. For those of you who are by yourself, all you need is just a straw. Just to take it in, and that's it. 13 bottles of wine in one container.
Jeez.
Party on. So, here we go. Sorry. So, which one of these are real? Which one of these fake? Or all of these fake? Or all of these real?
Who do you want to go first?
Yeah, start with pick one, and I'll. Why don't we pick one, and I'll just everybody give their opinion.
Yeah. Do y'all think the communion in a box is real?
I think that's fake. Yeah.
I'm going to say real.
I'm going to say if it's not real, it should be real. So I'm voting for real.
I could see a lot of churches buying this pre-made for communion. So I'm going to say real.
So I'm the only one saying it's fake. There we go. Yeah.
Madman, are we right? Who's
no.
right?
Go on to the second one.
Okay.
Oh, you got to wait to the end.
It's a lot more complicated, dude.
I think the worms are real. I do. I think I've seen that advert before.
I agree. I'm going to say real for that too.
Yeah. I'm going to say real.
Yeah, that's worms and dirt. I mean, that's like chocolate pudding. We used to eat that.
Yeah.
Worms and dirt. Give it to the kids. That's real. Now, whether it does give you laxatives, I don't know if that's true. But gummy worms are real. I've seen them before.
Yeah. I want to say real.
And number 3, the wine bucket.
This seems like it could be real, but I don't want to say all 3 are real because I don't think you do that, Madman.
You're going with the meta there of the. No, just take them individually.
I think it very well could be real, but I'm going to say not real.
I'm with Cam.
I'm going to say that. I was just at Costco the other day, and I mean, if it's not real, this is what they should do. There's a lot of Karens out there that would love be drinking this stuff, and they would drink 13 bottles, no problem.
Welcome to Costco,
little girlfriends.
I love you.
So, and they shop at those white blonde-haired Karens. They shop at Costco a lot. I see them there. I'm saying that's real. And if it's not real, it's going to be there tomorrow after the show. Costco's going to be like, hey, why did we do that? So it is real.
I'm agreeing with Snob on that one. I think that one's real.
So it's me and Cam versus Dean and Snob on the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready to know what the reality is?
Go on.
Yes.
Here we go. It's the bucket of wine.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes, the
dear.
communion one does exist, and it exists in different flavors, mind you, and different manufacturers. This is not the only manufacturer. There's about a dozen manufacturers that makes this
Yeah.
product. Now, as far as the gummy worms, yes, it is literally because of the fiber that is used to manufacture it. It has a high intense amount of fiber. When you go to buy this at Trader Joe's, from what I understand, the cashier will tell you, says, "Listen, do you really want to buy this? Because if you eat a lot of this, you're going to end up on the toilet."
Cam and I win.
Huzzah.
I mean, I eat too much sugar, I'll be in the toilet anyway. So
Yeah. Same.
I don't, I can't eat a lot of sugar.
Yeah, it's just insane. It's just the really, because I was doing this the other day. It almost had me with the wine when I was looking, because that's how I got this idea. It was like because the wine was being thrown up on there on Instagram and all that. I said, "Holy shit!" I was showing my wife. I said, "Look, they got a bucket of wine. Let's go out and get a bucket of wine." And then someone said, "No, it's not real. So someone created this just for the online."
I wouldn't be surprised if soon we have like buckets of wine in like Costco, Sam's Club, and all these big.
Yeah, that's just a matter of time before that one's real.
Yeah,
you can
Considering
buy
they
20
do have
gallons,
wine glasses that size that will handle that amount.
you can buy big things of what was selling. Costco was selling them, and other places too. Barrels of rice for you put in your for the apocalypse and stuff. And hey, if you're gonna need 20 gallons of a 20-gallon barrel of rice, I mean, why not a 20-gallon barrel of wine?
Well, because
You need that too.
that just the wine alone weighs around about 10 kgs. That's a heavy bucket. 13 and a half bottles is, you then add the weight of the bucket to.
Yeah, you feel like you get your money's worth, right?
Yeah, you're talking about 12 kgs or so. It's
that's a great price for 12 pounds of nutmeg.
There you go. Dave says it's worms and pudding. The next colonoscopy prep.
Yes.
Oh, it tastes better.
Come on, kids used to eat that all the time. It's called worms and dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I want some chocolate pudding for some reason.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, that's it for this week on this edition of the Asylum Moment. I said let's have a little fun this week, and to the point. But unfortunately, we're going to have to go on with this, and it's some sad news on there. Oh, wait, PB's got something on here before we go. The labeling on the bucket obviously is fake. In the U.S., all liquid containers are federally mandated to list on the U.S. account. Yeah, that's why somebody caught it online on there.
Damn PB and
his smartness,
his detail, attention to detail.
I do forget that the weight would be around about 44 to 50 pounds for that bucket. About 50 pounds that bucket.
Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, I wish my church when I was a kid had those like pre-made communion. I remember having like every communion we'd rotate who would set up the cups and the juice and the crackers. I hated it because my hands would be red after doing like a dozen of those little trays with the holes for each cup. Oh, I hated it.
So let's move on to the next thing, which is some sad news. For those of you who didn't pay attention yesterday on some of the on like Sci-Fi for Me TV and some of the others, we lost Tom Kane.
Sucks.
Yeah, I mean, this was a shocker. I mean, I had gotten the news. I started passing it on. I mean, Jason was like, "Wow," didn't even expect this. I know Jason is trying to reach out to the family on that because I know if you watch Jason's show, Sci-Fi for Me TV, the announcer in there is Tom on there, so he's trying to talk to them as if he's that you can continue doing that to that point, out of respect, he'll remove it. But supposedly he's going to be talking to them soon to that nature. But this was a big shocker to the point. Most people who know who Tom is, a great voice actor. I mean, it goes back 15 years old. He started as a voice actor.
He
Well,
started
also,
in like, go ahead.
I was going to say recent reports were that he, because he had suffered a stroke some years back, and just a month or so back, it was, it was reported he was going to be making some appearances, maybe once a month or something like that. So it sounded like, he was doing better, but who know? I don't know. Something could have popped up,
Yes,
unexpected.
with the girls.
Yeah, these are the Powerpuff girls,
Yep.
actresses, the originals,
Yep.
and Professor Utonium.
That's just. I was looking at his filmography on behindthevoiceactors.com, and it was like my entire teenage years. Just like on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends alone, he did like 67 voices. Just on that show alone. I mean, he's the narrator for the Clone Wars. He's Yoda after Frank Oz. Just
amazing. Yeah, a lot of voice actors do have massive bodies of work, but he's right up there.
He voiced on, believe it or not, Who's the Boss? And he was an announcer on that TV series.
Wow.
But it takes a special kind of voice actor, Cam, to be able to take on someone else's role and make it sound so much like it that you can't even tell half the time that they've taken over. And he did that with Yoda.
Yeah, he was great at it.
Yeah,
Professor Utonium was my favorite character of his. I loved the Powerpuff Girls. It was so much fun. It was just that raunchy giant monster beat 'em up superhero show. So what? It was 3 girls. I loved it.
Everybody loved it. I mean, you like him, like the voice of him. It was like
talking dog.
It almost sounds like the Blue Meanie from Yellow Submarine. Have you ever seen Yellow Submarine by the Beatles? Because that was like that kind of voice, that same tone of voice that him had on there.
I forgot he was Darwin on the Wild Thornberries. That was I loved that show.
Yes.
I thought
he was in Shrek. He was in Shrek, of course, Clone Wars, Next Avengers, Foster's. He was a news reporter in District 9.
Cow and Chicken.
Yeah, Cow and Chicken,
Johnny
Smurfs,
Bravo.
Rogue One. What is it? Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat. Phantom 2040. I loved Phantom 2040. That was such a good show.
Duckman. He was Bill Clinton in Duckman.
Yeah, he was Bill Clinton.
That's fucking hilarious.
Team Rider, Johnny Bravo. He was in Johnny Bravo. I Am Weasel, Buzz Lightyear. Oh, he was him. Holy crap.
He was him.
He was him.
He was a Magneto in Wolverine and the X-Men.
Let's see. Kim Possible. He was Monkey. I know he was Monkey Fist in Kim Possible. Cat and Dog. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, you go through this. I mean, it is just literally, it's tons of stuff that he has done. We lost a great voice actor. I mean, so much. I mean, he's, like I say, he started at a very young age, and his filmography is amazing for anyone in the business, and from the interviews that I've seen, like Sci-Fi for Me, the interview he did, he happened to be a straightforward, funny guy, a lot of fun that he threw out there. And some of the stories that I heard, was it the story that Jason, I think his son was saying yesterday, that basically that they were at the con, and he was getting a signature, and then he goes over and he says, Jason asked him, he says, did you ask Tom if he did the audio clips for the show? And he's like, oh no, I'll go back. I said, no. He goes back over to him, and he's like, did you Jason was just curious about the audio clips. He says, oh wait. He runs to the bathroom.
He says that as Professor Utonium, he said.
Yeah, does all the audio clips and comes back to give it to them from the bathroom. They recorded it all in the bathroom at the con. I like that story. That was a good story yesterday onto that. You know, anybody wants to add to this?
I've said. What do y'all think?
Rest in peace, Tom King. Great voice actor. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know Cam was a big fan. I mean, Cam, what did you like best on him?
Well, I love the Clone Wars stuff,
Yes.
and of course, Professor Utonium.
I loved Mr. Harriman from Foster's. I thought it was all those characters. They were so. The premise of Foster's allowed for such goofy characters, such a range of characters, and him playing so many of them so differently. It's just a testament to his skills.
And he did the voicing over for Dr. Loomis in the Halloween: The Legacy of Michael Myers, because it was after Donald Pleasant's death. You know, because they had done all the things. They just basically, he replaced his voice on that.
Yeah. Well, he was Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said he Rogue One. It's like, hello.
Come on in.
Delivery? Pizza delivery?
Somebody getting a delivery there? Whose doorbell was that? No, I'm kidding. On there. PB goes, him was a drag queen on
Oh, yeah.
high
There
heels.
was no hiding that fact.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was one of the great voices I loved from the Powerpuff Girls was him. Like I said, it reminded me of the Beatles' Yellow Submarine character.
That was like I think after the mid to late 2000s, that's when TV started going, or animation started going downhill. I wish I could. I remember seeing a story, and I cannot. Don't take me at my word. Try to find it yourself, because if you find it, send it to me. It was a leaked memo from Nickelodeon stating they could not create anything above a second grade level. I cannot find. I remember reading it, or at least I hope it wasn't a fever dream. But yeah, and then there, like, you look at the map of Australia, there's a city called Townsville, and I saw that and started laughing.
Yeah, PB says the city of Townsville cracked me up to no end. All the same thing. My daughter loved that show.
That was Tom Kenny was the narrator. SpongeBob was the narrator for that show. But,
Yeah, no, these were great shows. And he joined at a time that he's part of the group of people that worked on shows that changed the level of cartoon. They built Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
I mean, a friend of mine, William, he happens to be one of the storyboard artists for Courage the Cowardly Dog. So he's worked with some of these people, doing some of this stuff for Cartoon Network. I mean, even though Cartoon Network was insane to work for at the time, there are a lot of horror stories that some people have been driven to mental asylums for working with Cartoon Network because of all the deals and everything like that. Speaking of people who work with it, McCracken came out with something out. It was really nice online on there. Sort of a thank you on there from Greg. Nice little drawing on there. I don't know if you could see that. See the wording on that.
It's Cam.
It's Cam. Yeah, Cam. It's Cam.
I wish.
I know. I didn't realize just how much, because I love my Lego computer games, and he's done tons of voices in the Lego games. Absolutely tons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're trying, and Cartoon Network is trying to revive, because they brought back Cartoon now, and trying to bring a new generation of this level of cartoons once again to the masses. Could we get something like that again? Very hard to say. Tom was that diamond in the rough, a great voice actor. I mean, we've had many. You can go down the line. Guys do Optimus Prime and Vic Mignogna. The many great voice actors that are out there, and a lot of them that are still working and going across overseas to Japan. Same situation. That there are many of them out there. We've lost many of them as of late on there, and some of them that are still voicing. The woman that does Goku, both young and older Goku, she's still voicing it, and I think she's in her 70s now.
Hmm.
And she's still voicing Goku
Well,
in the newer series, in the new series that have come out as of late.
out of the I'd say the '90s specifically, where when we had the Steven Spielberg shows, that batch of Steven Spielberg shows, it brought us so many amazing voice actors. Um, like we were talking about a few weeks ago, Kevin Conroy in Batman, Rob Paulson in the Ninja Turtles, um, Jim does Winnie the Pooh,
Oh,
Jim Cummings,
yeah.
um, E.G. Daily, Christine Cavanaugh, all these amazing, versatile actors. My acting teacher described it like this. He said, I'm teaching you tools to put in your acting toolbox. And I thought, like, okay, they're doing all this. They're taking every tool out of the toolbox but one. That's like they're trying to build a house with nothing but a screwdriver, and they're succeeding. That's what voice acting is. You're taking the way, because how much emotion do we get from looking at someone's face? How much do we get from their the way their body is? We don't get that in voice acting. And for him to have, again, such a vast role with such vastly different characters, and to portray the emotions that we get, that you can get from seeing someone on stage, it's just a tremendous. I've tried voice acting. I suck. And
It's
it's a whole nother beast. And I hate when people say, "Oh, voice acting is not real acting." Bitch, try it yourself and see how hard it is.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, you could watch some of the videos out there for a lot of voice actors, like specifically like South Park.
Yeah.
They record a lot of their stuff and they've shown it online. What they go through each of the episodes, and yeah, that's not easy. That's pretty tough. Same thing with like the Boondocks also as well.
Well,
They are.
I know. I'm not a fan of his really much anymore. Mark Hamill, when he did the Joker,
Hmm.
seeing that he could not sit down. You'd see Kevin Conroy sitting beside him doing Batman and Bruce Wayne, but Mark would get up when he did that laugh. And Andrea Romano, the legendary voice director for DC, said it's like he brought it from his feet to the very top of his head, and he just let out that cackling laugh that was just so powerful, that would just make you kind of give you like goosebumps, like shivers down your spine almost. And other actors have done that. They've done great, but honestly, there's no better Joker to me than Mark Hamill.
Did you know that Tom, during COVID, Tom was one of several voices for health and safety during the COVID pandemic at Walt Disney World?
Ah, I did not.
They have that listed here on there. I'm just reading through some of this stuff real quick.
He was also the Walt Disney monorail
Yes.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, and also he did the voice of the announcer for the Eric Andre show.
Mhm.
Most people don't realize that as well on that. And when George Cole passed away, he replaced Cole as Woodhouse for a while. So they wrote off Woodhouse from the Archer TV series.
Yes, I remember that.
That another good character on the show. I loved Woodhouse on Archer. Poor guy. He says, "You're gonna eat spider webs." It's like, no, sir, no, not the spider webs.
That was a
You know.
funny show.
Oh yeah, that's a great show, Archer. Great voice acting on that as well. So the real good shows is you have great voice actors. You can go down a whole list of TV shows that are animated and some great voice acting, even from regular actors out there. I mean, you look at movies like Heavy Metal, which had like a Hollywood cast on there. Some of the dub versions of anime into America, some of the movie ones like Armitage 3. Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland, who was a voice actor in that. He was playing one of the main characters in Armitage 3. And as of late, you've seen some of them hit on like Demon Slayer as well. To that point.
One of the great things about voice acting is it doesn't matter what you look like. What was his name? Played Samurai Jack.
Are you talking about
Phil Lamar?
Phil Lamar.
A black guy played an agent. One of the best characters. One of my favorite shows ever. One of the best characters. Said such little, but was able to. Phil Lamar said that was the best job he ever had because he got paid so much for so little words.
And the thing about it is, because they complained about who plays Apu or who plays, and then meanwhile, they leave Phil Lamar out of it.
Well, Phil Lamar was part of that saying, part of that mob. Phil Lamar.
I agree. Yeah.
Black actors should play black characters. Okay, then you need to give. I tweeted him. I said, then you need to give back. You're not Asian. Give back all the money you earned playing Samurai Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Lead by example. Put your money where your mouth is. But Rob Paulson, who I love dearly, one of my favorite actors. They did animated DC movie called Batman and Harley Quinn. And there's a scene where they go to this bar where all the goons, all the sidekicks and goons hang out. And there's Two-Face has some goons and they're singing. They're singing Don't Pull Your Love Out on Me, Baby. It's Rob Paulson singing the melody and harmonizing with himself. And it's amazing.
Well, have you watched his podcast?
Oh, Talking Tunes. I watched it and I listened to it religiously, but then he just disappeared because he had his throat cancer diagnosis.
Yeah. Has anyone else seen his podcasts?
I have not. No.
No.
That's a good one. If you get a chance, do watch it. He brings on guests. Yeah. They've done parodies to Star Wars and all that. I mean, it's like think of Pinky and the Brain, but on a Star Wars script.
Yeah, they mismatch their characters. It's great. I listened to it when they would do the podcast from I think the Improv in L.A. It was before they went on to the Nerdist channel.
Mm-hmm. Has Tom been on that show?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
We'll have to look. Yeah.
But I was Tom. He played Morgan Freeman on Robot Chicken. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It's funny. It's respectful. It bothers me. We're like, I'm on the both sides because like when you race change just for the sake of it, like we're seeing in the Odyssey and all those British royal movies that have come out the past couple of years.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add before we finish off on this? Nobody wants to add?
Just thanks for all the awesome work, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch some Powerpuff Girls tonight. I think just to relive the fun.
So, hey, listen, rest in peace, Tom Kane. You brought us so much joy in our lives. Like I said, it's sad when this came. I mean, it shocked me. When this came out yesterday, I was like, holy crap. We just, Jason was just talking about him, back on the circuit. Getting back on the circuit.
I swore when I saw it. I was like,
yeah.
Bad news.
Yeah, I sent it to you and I was like, Cam, you were like, oh no. Yeah, it was the same feeling I had. I was like, as I was sending it around to everybody and everybody else that on there said, "You're kidding? Are you kidding? You're joking?" It's like, no, it's I had to go back and make sure because at first it was coming out of TMZ and I was like, okay, not everything out of TMZ is 100%. So I was going down the line looking for it, and then even AI was saying yes, this was true also. So basically, that's when I started sending everything out to that point. So once again, rest in peace, Tom. We still there's so much out there. For those of you watching, take in a little bit of his stuff. A lot of it's on Tubi TV. Powerpuff Girls,
He did
Foster's.
do Talking Tunes. It was episode.
Yeah.
It's episode 90. It's 96. From like
Episode 90. There we
2013.
go. Go find Talking Tunes, episode 96. Because one that show has a lot of fun. If you haven't seen that podcast, it's a lot of fun on there, and I bet Tom had a lot of fun on that podcast.
It's the podcast that's credited with bringing a lot of people credit with bringing voice acting into the mainstream consciousness. People started really getting interested in it after that show. One of my favorite episodes, it had Rob Paulson, Sean Astin, and he played Deadpool. He played Nathan Drake, Nolan North, and it was the three Raphaels, they called it, because they all played Raphael from the Ninja Turtles, and it was one of my favorite episodes.
I put the link in there. Thanks, Outpost. Put the link in the chat. Those you can click on over after the show. Go watch that episode podcast on there. Enjoy yourself onto that, because that's, again, great voice actor on there. We got a little more time left on this episode. Is there anything interesting anyone want to bring up for this week?
Mandalorian Grogu comes out this weekend. I'm optimistic.
It's being panned by early critics.
I expected it. It.
I don't think it's going to do great.
I'm looking forward to seeing one of my favorite characters in live action. Finally, well, we saw him a little bit. What was it? Oh, God. Zeb was one of my favorite characters. I love it how they took the original design for Wookiees and finally added it to Star Wars, because the Lasats were actually George Lucas's first Wookiee design. And I don't know. I still haven't seen Mortal Kombat, which I've heard people are like, "Oh, it could have done better." I think it's like number 2 in the box office right now.
But no, I think it jumped. I think it got knocked down to number 3.
I know Michael's number 1.
Yeah.
Michael stops. I've heard Michael stops. The movie ends at when all his legal problems start.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a sequel. There's going to be a sequel to it.
I know, like, Super Mario Galaxy is still hanging in like the top 10 after like 7 weeks. I loved that movie. That movie was great.
I've seen the first one and really enjoyed the first one.
I did too.
I typically wait for it to come out on Apple TV, and I buy it from there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. I think that's the first movie was just such a, given everything that was coming out around that time, it was a breath of fresh air. It was bright, colorful, and just entertaining.
It was a love story to the history of the franchise.
Like, absolutely.
I love that scene when they're running down the street and they're running through like scaffolding. It's like a Mario Brothers level.
It is.
Like the Luigi and Mario's family like are different versions of Mario. And I love the music. The only thing I did not like about that the Super Mario Brothers movie was Seth Rogen. I despise that man. That man is a hack. Plays the smart head, the pothead, and everything. It's like, shut up, go away. Can't stand him.
Here's a bit of news that just came out. Remember Schlitz beer? Anybody remember Schlitz?
Sure.
Yeah, it's being discontinued.
No.
After 177 years, one of the oldest. See you, Dave. Thank you for showing up. One of the oldest beers in America is going away. Schlitz.
I'm sure somehow we'll survive.
It's no Dos Equis.
Yeah. Another thing I did want to bring up.
Heineken.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to bring up is the Transformers the movie is getting a 4K remaster and theatrical release.
Awesome.
This made me laugh when you sent me that, Madman. Let's scar an entire new generation of kids with the death of Optimus Primal.
I know someone. I think someone. I wish I put the picture up. I'll show it next week. It was like someone put a picture up for. I don't know if it was fandom or anything. It was called the Apology Tour, and it has a dead Optimus Prime there. It says 40 years later, it still hits like a truck.
Nick Rekieta. Nick
yeah,
Rekieta would say the only 2 times that a man is allowed to cry are at funerals and watching the death of Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it's the 40th anniversary. It's actually September 17th. It's going to be re-released into theaters.
That movie had some of the best music. Stan Bush did like you got the touch. What was that? The opening song? I can't remember. Stan.
Oh God. Stan. Yeah,
Stan. Oh, the music was. I'll go listen to all that. And I loved Hot Rod.
They're putting it on vinyl. I think it is available on vinyl.
Hot Rod was one of my favorite Transformers. I wish we could have seen more of him.
And speaking of voice cast, great voice cast. Leonard Nimoy,
Orson Welles in his last role.
Orson Welles' last performance.
Frank Welker as Megatron and Galvatron. You cannot beat the original two.
Yeah, Judd Nelson, Lion Stanford, Weird Al Yankovic. There was such a great voice cast on there. I saw this theatrically. I paid to see this in the theaters, and I stayed for a second showing, because it was such a good movie. And the thing about it is they cursed in this.
A little bit.
Just a bit, not hard, because it would be put toward a PG-13.
Eric Idle was in it as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Eric Idle was in it also. It's such a great film, a great animated film. See, that's the stuff we're missing today. When people criticize, they say Japanese anime. Why has it been so popular? Because it's some good animation.
What I really liked, it was very lore expanding. Even though I prefer the G1 Transformers, I do really like that they expanded a lot of the stuff with Cybertron and then outside of Cybertron, these other planets they went to and such.
Yeah, in fact, you can see it. Yeah, go ahead.
And then they took what happened in the movie and added and worked off that in the animated series. I liked it how it. Yeah, you're right, Kim. It was great how it fit into the continuity. It wasn't a standalone movie.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how Hot Rod, when he became Rodimus Prime, he's like, I don't know if I can do this. It showed kind of a real, like when leadership is thrust upon you, like it was for Rodimus. It showed, I think, a real, for lack of a better word, human reaction to it. It's like, can I do this? We had such a giant of a figure in Optimus Prime. Am I going to be able to do this? Mm-hmm. And he decides, nope. Here you go, Optimus.
And then they bring Optimus Prime back
because kids and people were just so outraged about it.
Yeah,
it's such a tear-jerking moment.
I know. It's just like you're like, holy shit! Did they? When I saw this in the theater, I was like, did they just kill Optimus Prime?
Robert Stack was in this movie.
Yes, Robert Stack. Yeah, he played Ultra Magnus.
Ooh, Scatman Crothers. That's right. I forgot he played Jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz was my favorite. Like in the
Scatman has always done it, even in G1. It was always his voice.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So you got to realize I was not born when G1 was on. G1 was early 80s. I was born at the tail end of the 80s.
You could see G1 now. Well, actually, G1, G2, all on Pluto now. Pluto has a Transformers channel now.
Jazz was my favorite out of all the movie Transformers, all the Michael Bay Transformers. Jazz was my favorite, and then of course my favorite gets ripped in half by Megatron. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's not only Optimus Prime, it's like half of the freaking G1 cast was killed in just the opening minutes of the movie.
Yeah, when they're on the ship, Prowl got killed, Ironhide got killed, Cliffjumper, I think.
Yeah.
was a bloodbath.
And then on Autobot
Go back.
City, you killed a bunch more.
Yeah.
I love the battle at Autobot City. That was cool.
That's fantastic. And when Optimus Prime shows up and he says, "I need to stop this at all costs," and it's like, "You got the touch," and he's just barreling through Decepticons.
Yeah, it was glorious 80s action.
Yeah.
One of my favorite uses of "You Got the Touch" is at the end of Saints Row the Third. The Earth, the entire game is set in a. I don't know if y'all ever played Saints Row. It's kind of a cartoony GTA kind of game where you go from a gang member throughout the games, and you end up the president of the United States, and your entire gang, the Saints, run America. But then an alien overlord,
just like real life.
Yeah, pretty much. An alien overlord invades, abducts a bunch of people, puts them in a simulation, destroys the Earth. And at the end, you've escaped the simulation, and you get this power armor. And he says, over the intercom, that you're talking to the bad guy. Your character says, "One shall stand, one will fall." And he jumps off this into this pit, and he's flying. It's all the entire time you're flying, dodging obstacles is playing in the background. You Got the Touch.
Well, they're releasing.
I love that song.
The Matrix of Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's on Amazon right now. I forgot what it costs. It is literally and it opens.
Oh.
It literally just like you pull it, and supposedly it says, "You got the touch," as you opening it. And it's been selling like crazy. I know some sites it's already sold out, and it hasn't even been released. I think it's supposed to be released in the next 2-3 months. I think it's toward the fall. It's getting a release, and it's like it has like a little holder so you can put it on the shelf, and you could have it like either completely closed or partially open, and it just like it glows and all that. And it's a real cool piece to have in the collection. I mean, besides the ones that are like that actually move and transform now. You got a bunch of them that are like Optimus Prime, yes, transform. And he goes from truck.
I think it's Optimus right now. It's Megatron and the T-Rex one. I can't never remember his name.
No, it's Dinobot. Also, Soundwave. I think they brought out Soundwave.
Soundwave.
And a couple of others that they're right now they're manufacturing.
I loved Transformers. I just couldn't get the transform. I couldn't with the toys. I could never as a kid do them. I could never transform from robot. So my best friend had a lot of them growing up. A lot of Beast Wars toys. I grew up. Beast Wars was my first foray into it. That was Gary Chalk as Optimus Primal. It ties into G1 really well. I loved it. A lot of people don't like it.
What's that? Third season 3, which is the Ark.
Yeah, you literally like Megatron finds the Ark. This is the T-Rex gangster Megatron, not G1 Megatron. He blows up. He destroys Optimus's head, and so time starts unwinding. Because without Optimus, the Autobots lost the Great War.
Yep.
And they end up saving it. And in order to repair him, Optimus Primal has to carry his spark. Well, he's carrying 2 sparks, and it transforms him into this big Autobot-style vehicle called Optimal Optimus, which was like a 10-inch tall figure that could transform into 4 different things. My best friend Alexander had him. It was so cool.
I love that they brought Ravage in on this one too.
Yes,
the new reformed Ravage. Now he's like an assassin. He's like this cool assassin with cloaking ability.
But my favorite was Rat Trap. He was a little rat that for his transmetals. The characters transformed into a different version, and they had robot mode, animal mode, and vehicle mode. My favorite was Rat Trap. His vehicle mode was a rat rod. He had like wheels and come up on his arms and hind legs, and he'd have two fiery exhausts pop out of his back, and he'd just bolt down. It was a great show. I wish people didn't hate it as much.
Yeah. Well, we're going to close out on
you
here.
guys are missing a movie that's
which one?
Pretty big. Masters of the Universe.
I think they had the red carpet. Was it last night?
There are some,
and they
early
supposedly like
reviews
Dolph
coming out.
Lundgren was there, passing on the torch onto the new actor.
I'm surprised he wanted anything to do with it, because from what I understand, he hated working on that movie.
Well, the reviews, I mean, these are Twitter. They seem to be, better than the Mandalorian and Grogu ones. That's for sure.
I'll look into that, because I've been covering that movie, the trailers, since it first came out. I grew up on the 2003 version of He-Man, and I loved He-Man.
But so let's close out on everything. Dean, I know you're live today.
We are. We're redoing. We had to cancel last week. Vicky was really under the weather, but we have in an hour's time our world building. So we will take you through the world of Kaseya and how we approach that. And looking forward to that. We don't have a spotlight this week. Other people we were due to interview, something came up. But on Sunday, we are interviewing the Red Room about their system, and that'll be out next Thursday. So looking forward to that. And I'm on some show talking about Babylon 5, but I'll let Snob cover that one.
Yeah.
Outpost, what do you got for this week?
Gonna be looking at the reviews of Mandalorian, Grogu, couple He-Man, and reviewing the trailer for the Odyssey. I've been asked to do that. That train wreck that's going to be coming out. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Cam, what do we got in Bad News Bards this weekend?
I don't know.
Cam doesn't plan that far ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so
something interesting, I'm sure.
Before we go into the Wednesday, Snob, what do we have for Sunday?
We are back on the Amazing Digital Circus. Cam and I are going to be talking about episodes 5 and 6, and we know, listen, this is not that popular with our age group and with our regular viewers, but look, we think that the show's got something to say, and we encourage you to check it out and come and listen to us talk to it. And like you said, the finale's coming up pretty soon, and we're hoping it's going to be a great payoff. So far, the writing, I mean, I've liked the writing, Cam. I think the writing's pretty good, right? I think
solid so far.
Chances are we're going to get a good payoff, more than not. They could
7 million tickets pre-sold. That should tell you something.
They could. Well, I mean, but it's popular, but it's popular with the younger crowd, the teens and the 20-somethings. Much more popular with them. So
and
we are an anomaly.
Yep. And tomorrow night, big thing tomorrow night. You want to announce that stuff?
Sure. Yes, we've got our Babylon 5 season 3. We have our recap of, we always do this at the end of the season. We talk about, our thoughts on the season, best episodes, worst, a bunch of stuff. It's a little bit starting an hour early, and we usually go a little bit longer. So it usually hits the 3-hour mark because we got so much to talk about. And of course, Season 3, arguably the best season of Babylon 5. So, much more to talk about. And, of course, ending on a big cliffhanger with Sheridan dead. Is he really dead? I don't know. I haven't watched the next episode yet, but I have to watch it after the show. I always wait. I can't watch it because I don't want to give it anything away. I'll watch it probably Thursday or something. But we'll see. So come and join us as we talk about it. Your ideas in the chat. Your thoughts would be good.
And that's at an early time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, right here on YouTube, and also on Rumble as well on there.
You bet.
Yeah. And as far as me, I basically got some great videos this week. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the insane cost of Comic-Con. Yes, we have the numbers out, and God, you wonder, do you want to go to Disney World or do you want to go to Comic-Con? They're both super expensive right now. to the point that it's literally
Comic-Con
the fans being priced out.
Comic-Con is as expensive as Disney. Holy moly, that's
$300 for 4 days.
wow.
Jesus freaking
Just to give you a hint. And this is New York Comic-Con. San Diego, not too far
I was going to say
behind it.
San Diego. Jeez.
On that. So because the ticket prices are already out, watch it. Even the VIP list. It's just the VIP price is even through the roof. It's you need to take a loan out for the VIP one on there. Also Thursday we're going to be talking about the return of wired headphones, and the Discman is back. You can thank Zoe Kravitz for that one because she's been going around on Instagram wearing wired headsets as I'm wired here to that point. And Friday we will be talking about the stream that we talked about streaming today, the streaming apocalypse. Several other companies are on their way out, including Sling and Fubo. We'll be talking about that on Friday. Next week we're working on basically the numbers are out for Crunchyroll and their quarter. They're not looking good. They've lost money to that point. Also, as I said before, early on, we're going to be talking about this book here, this manga. This is being made into a movie. Like I said, you have Margot Robbie's 50-Foot Woman being made. This is being made into an animated anime movie right now. If you don't know the premise on this, go out and get it. It's literally a woman who is a porn star and has the ability to grow into a giant. It's a good 3 levels of it. It's really good. Catch it. Hopefully the movie, because it's being done by Mappa and K2, so it should be a good premise in itself. Also, once again, new T-shirt. It's out there. On there, you can get 10% off. Use the code STAYMAD. It is one of the many T-shirts that are going to be released this year, going into the next couple of months. This is the first of many to come as well. Like I said, all this goes to helping support this channel to help build a bigger and better streaming channel on Cuticast TV. Let's see what PB says there. Can't tell on that, but yeah, thank you, PB. On cheers. Is that what cheers? Okay. My screen's a little small on this end. Once again, thank you for those who have tuned in. Thank you for those on YouTube, Rumble. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, subscribe if you're subscribed to us on YouTube, take a moment, go over to Rumble with all the shenanigans and drama that's going on. Go over to Rumble. At least if anything happens, God forbidding, knock on wood, so far, all of us here have been doing very well. None of that drama has folded into us, or that issues wouldn't. But if it does, you know where to find us, at least on Rumble itself. On that. So once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the panelists that have come here on there to that point. And as the T-shirt says, hang on to there. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay mad. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.
Good
night.
Later.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We truly appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to check out our official merch shop and our amazing affiliate partners. Until next time, mwah!